Good morning, and welcome to On the Wrong Lead presents Saratoga Daily. I am Mark, and we're going to be talking a little bit of Wednesday's Saratoga card. It's August 19th, and we have the Bolton Landing, which is a turf sprint stakes for 2-year-olds. A whole lot of things in there that are really scary to as a handicapper, but I'm going to cover that sequence because I think using a little bit of ABC, a little bit of structure, we can construct something that maybe we can catch a price in the Bolton Landing. So I'll be looking at this race 7 through race 9 chunk, but before we get there, let's talk about what's happened at Saratoga. We saw towards the end of the week, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the track sort of settled out. It seemed like closers were able to get home. Was playing pretty fair on the dirt, I thought. And I think any bias that we had seen earlier in the meet, it seemed to kind of have settled out. On the turf, specifically on routes, we saw outside posts being really good. So mile and a 16th on the inner, you were seeing those sort of post 8 outwards sort of positions being really good. And early tactical speed seems to really be a thing. That's a very common thing to have on the Saratoga turf, where your position is very important. So we're seeing those early speed types really making a lot of sense and doing a lot of damage. I shouldn't say early speed types, EP types, horses that can be forwardly placed, can press an early pace. And besides that, I thought the track was playing pretty consistently. I think it's been sort of playing towards, playing logically, making some sense. So I have a pick 3 that starts in race 7. And in race 7, 7 furlong race here, I sort of have a couple of question marks here. Galani Brigade here, the one horse. I'm surprised this horse isn't the morning line favorite with the Chad and JJ connections, and the horse having its one win across the Saratoga track. This horse has been in the Chad Brown Witness Protection Program, but horses that come out of that hit about 30%. So, off that maiden score with the long break, I would think this one's super live. To McLean's music, they tend to be very precarious early on, and they paid quite a bit of money for this one, although the McLean's musics do tend to be a bit fragile. So the long break here is something that you do see common with these horses. Horse makes a ton of sense. I'm kind of surprised this isn't the morning line favorite, and that Blackjack Davy, the 2 who's drawn just outside, is. Blackjack Davy ran here at longer on July 29th. They're now shortening this horse up massively, but the maiden breaker was at a mile and a 16th. I almost wonder if this is a little too sharp for this one. And also, this is a horse that has shown that he kind of wants to come from out of the clouds. So I find this a bit of an odd horse to have be the favorite. Linda Rice, Arad, obviously the connections are there, but I don't know if you want this run type at 7 furlongs specifically. And the other thing I will say is these inside 2 posts have not historically been good at Saratoga. They've not been historically run good on the dirt this meet. I shouldn't say on the dirt. They only run 7 furlongs on the dirt at Saratoga. But the horse that I'm most interested in here is the 5, Quick Flash. Quick Flash has a ton of speed, drawn nicely, drawn outside any of the other speeds. Should be able to get a pretty solid trip here. Get on or just off the pace. Junior should have a ton of options with this one. Kimmel's great off the short layoff. Horse hasn't kind of punched home that win, but you're going to see a bunch of sort of horses that have either failed 100 times at allowance ranks in here, or horses that are just off a maiden score. So Quick Flash to me is probably my top selection in this race. And as another A, I do feel like Galani Brigade is a horse that you sort of have to use. Chad is just too good off these long layoffs. That last race, on a figure-only standpoint, would be, is basically one of the best figs in here. So I think the 1 and the 5 both make a ton of sense as A's. Blackjack Davy, just because of the questions, why are they shortening this one up so much? I mean, I'm saying too sharp, and I think my too sharp comment probably gets me, I'll probably get some flack for. My issue more with this horse is this is probably the distance that makes sense, but why are they doing this now? were they trying to hope that this one could be a more classic distance horse? Did Linda think she had a monster and was trying to stretch this one out, and now they're shortening up and being realistic? That's not normally Linda's style. Linda's normally pretty good at taking realistic expectations of a horse right from the get-go, and she normally spots them pretty well when they come into her barn. So I find it really odd that they went to the mile and a 16th to break the maiden, and now they're cutting back. It was a Belmont mile and a 16th, which is a one-turn, so maybe she's playing the game of this is a one-turn horse, and this is the only one-turn option she had at Saratoga. That could just be the option. That could be the idea here, but one coming from this much out of the clouds, I'm a little scared. Hopefully a rag keeps him a little closer, but he's going to end up being a B on my ticket. Hopping into the 8th, the Bolton Landing. So as I said, we're talking fillies, we're talking no Lasix, 2-year-olds in a turf sprint. That's just a whole lot of really, really, really scary. And the reason I say that is turf sprints, if you historically follow them, tend to be races where you get prices. Prices happen in turf sprints. So I'm pulling my book over here because I like a ton of horses in here. I think the race really begins and ends with your feelings on Toby's Heart. Toby's Heart, that last outs figure, by far and away the best in the field. Horse that has won on turf, but doesn't really have a lot of turf pedigree, either top or bottom. So you're like, okay, you freaked and ran a race that was a maiden on turf, but that sort of sends up some red flags. You know, is this horse legitimate? Was that horse just flattered in that last figure? What really happened here? And Brian Lynch is really not good off these types of layoffs. But he is a trainer that I tend to respect quite a bit. So what do you do with Toby's Heart? I think for me, Toby's Heart has to be the lone A because I'm handicapping the horse first. And this horse has proven that he can run on turf. She can run on turf. She won at this distance at Churchill in a turf sprint. It's the one horse that's proven, it's a proven quantity. I know what I'm getting here. So the 6 will be my lone A. And I'm going to go 4 Bs here. I want Joy's Rock at the 2, Asmussen on the surface switch on a horse that doesn't necessarily have a ton of turf pedigree as well, but at least I know that I'm getting a horse that's handled 2 different surfaces and is 2 for 2. I like winners, and I like horses that can go to different tracks and win on different surfaces. There's a lot of upside there for me. This one has a ton of early speed, as do a ton of them in here, and I think this one, could be really interesting. I don't have really great internal fractions on the 5, Toby's Heart, but they didn't look super, super crazy. Horse definitely rallied from off the pace. So again, when I'm talking Toby's Heart, I do like that the horse doesn't need the lead. There's an argument to be made that somebody like Joy's Rocket, somebody like Hara to the inside, and a few others in here maybe, would all need the lead. Obviously, all lightly raced horses, so I want to spread in here. I'm actually going to use a maiden as a B as well. Sassy Hannah, who has a ton of turf pedigree top and bottom. You're getting Cohen, but you're also getting a horse that's a works horse that's shipping in from out of town, owner-trainer combo horse from a low percentage barn, but not Saratoga and not Naira Connections. This one is one of those potentially well-meant horses. I think has to be a B. You're going to get quite a bit of a price in here. Would not shock me at all if this one was to win here. Albeit Warfront is not known as a 2-year-old turf sire. So Warfront, as good as he is, a little scary, but one of the ones I want in here. The other 2 that I wanted in here were the 8 and the 9. To me, they're sort of similar horses in the fact that you're getting very known connections who obviously the 9 did win a race at Saratoga with some more recency. The 8, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Won a race down in Florida at Gulfstream, but both of these are 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds are very prone to taking big jumps forward very quickly. They will get better. Their figures will improve substantially from that first out to that second start. I like that the 9 Mischievous Dream has passed other horses. That for me is absolutely huge. And honestly, that horse had a pretty brutal trip and still won. So the figs have to improve for the 9 to get home. And again, the 9 is one of the other horses in here. One of the few, there's a few that have won on turf, but there's a bunch of them that are kind of, you're like, why are you here? The 9 does make sense why this horse is here, as does the 8. And the other ones, I'm going to buy the rest of the race. So the rest of the ones I need are the 1, the 3, and the 4. My issue with I think Hera has the pedigree to be a turfer, but I hate that post draw, especially on a 2-year-old, and especially on a horse that failed pretty badly last out in the Schuylerville. Obviously, they thought this horse would be good on dirt, and I guess the horse was a bomb. So Hera makes some sense. Maybe this is the right surface. Maybe the surface switch gets it done, but I'm a little suspect here. The other ones here that I liked were Sweet Super Sweet, the 3, the Live Oak Homebred, and Queen Latifah, the horse that will take money on name alone. Argument can be made that the 1 and the 3 are both turf horses. I don't think Queen Latifah is a turf horse. I think this is a dirt horse, and just a dirt horse that probably needs to improve quite a bit to make a mark here. But very interesting to see on Queen Latifah that Rosario gets up. I think this is one of those races where I'm okay being spread here. I don't have a strong opinion, and by using ABC structure, I can leverage up that all-A play, put more money through the horse that I think is the most likely winner, and I would say with Toby's Heart as well. There's a bunch of question marks, but this is the kind of horse that people in here may go chasing connections and chasing sort of the, I want to find the wise guy horse. If this horse goes off at even money, I couldn't bet it, but I think you might get 2-1 here on this horse. I could see this horse drifting up quite a bit, just on the fact that there are so many other things in here. It might be win bettable at those sort of odds. Into the 9th, I had mentioned in my little brief about the 1 mile on the inner turf. You're going to have some horses here on the inside that are going to take a bunch of money, and these horses have not been doing well. Big Al's Gal is going to probably take some money, with Rosario staying here for Chris Englehart. Englehart has been about as cold as can be, but his horses have been running well. He's only got 1 winner on the meet, but he's got 11 of 24 in the money. But I don't like the post draw here at a mile with the short run up into the first corner. And I realize you still go a good part of the front stretch, but it's shorter relative to other, to running like a mile to 16th. And also the turf inner, the stretches are shorter in length overall. And I also think Sandra's Mine with Jose Ortiz. Jose Ortiz has been winning everything that's not tied down on the turf at Saratoga this meet, but I don't necessarily love the draw here. Jose was on this horse the last 2 times out. He was on the last time out at Saratoga. I don't see anything that changed. And a horse that's 0 for 12 and nothing has changed, is not one that I get super excited about, although, you can make some excuses for the trip in the last out. I think this one's going to have, again, that rough trip. Does not have as much early speed as some of the horses drawn outside. Neither the 1 nor the 2 do, and they both are going to get buried, and then they have to invent a trip coming into the stretch. I'm only going to actually end up using 2 horses in here. I think you can make an argument for the 8 in here, Woman Not Easy, who has that speed that we like to see when drawn outside. Arad's going to be able to get forward position. He's of the speeds, he's the most inside drawn in the 8 path. So as long as this horse breaks, should get a real clean trip, and Arad should be able to dictate the pace off the front end for the Rudy barn. I'm not convinced this is a turf horse, but considering those dirt starts were really bad, a horse doesn't really need to improve too much here to be able to win this, and I think pace really helps this one. The other horse, which is the only other one I want here, is the 9 Brovia. Brovia is drawn outside of Woman Not Easy. The speed should be able to get run up, and is should be able to get pretty good position on the outside. That nice stalking trip. Arad obviously got off the 9 to get on the 8, but it's nice to see Sayas get up here for Jimmy Bondi. Those two have done very well together, and very well together on the turf as well. So, again, this is one that I'm not 100% convinced is actually a turf horse, but I should say this one. I said that backwards. This one I'm pretty convinced is a turf horse. So it's nice to see Sayas get up, and I think this one will get a really nice outwardly stalking trip. There's a lot of other horses in here that I think will take money. I think anytime you get these Naira, last race, get out of jail, Naira fold horses, in a maiden claimer, these are upset centrals. And I actually think some of the funky horses in here that may take money, I mean, you look through a lot of these are 0 for 7, 0 for 15 kind of horses. Those horses can always beat me. So the ticket structure looks like this. I'm trying to leverage up the 6th and the 2nd leg in the feature. I think that horses are most likely winner and I've said this before on some of our live streams, with these 2-year-old races, either the favorite wins in a romp and you get 2-1 and you're like, why didn't I just shovel money at that horse made the most sense on paper, or a horse that's 30-1 wins. There seems to be none of those mid prices ever win these races. So I want the most money going through the 6, but then I want the rest of the field. You're seeing these 2 horses out here that are not being used. Those are both MTOs. And then I'm going to try to get a little more aggressive in a race where I think people will spread. I think people will spread that last race. I think this is one of those sequences that if the 6 wins the 2nd leg, maybe this play pays $60 or $70, and we have it 4 times, so we're getting 2.5 or 3 times return on our money. I'm cool with that kind of reward. We're putting some prices. If that maiden wins that 2nd leg, that horse that I think could potentially be well meant, we still can catch it. We can have any of the winners in the 1st leg, and we're still going to get a $2 play through that horse. If that maiden wins, this may pay $300 or $400 for a pick 3, and we could get $8 or $10, or 8 or 10 times return on our money, I should say. So I like the risk versus reward in this sequence quite a lot. I have an earlier sequence pick through. I actually recorded the video. I asked Chase, and Chase said, dude, he's like, do the feature because I think more people will want to see that. So if you're interested in the structure on what I have through leg 2, 3, and 4, I think it's another really slammable sequence. Hit me up on Twitter at 2_turns. Hit me up on Discord, or leave a message in the comments, and I will throw that play out. I will put all the plays for this sequence, how I'm structuring it, how I'm approaching it, in the description below. And until next time, good luck at the races.